Hello viewers, this is AKwasp and welcome to another one of my Make It Back from Your Hack guides, which is a money making from scratch video. And in this video we go over an attempt to make some profit off of the Ganodermic Beasts using welfare gear. Now, if you're not familiar with the concept, basically Runeshark issued a challenge under the premise of if you were hacked and you had nothing because the hacker took all your money and everything away from you, how would you make your money back as soon as possible? And basically they instituted a 1-hour time limit on it. So I decided to cut it up into two sections. Once, which is the making all the initial money, in which I was able to make 466k in 23 minutes, and that's part one, which is a video reference to in the description and should be on screen as well. And then various part twos, and all the different part twos are different methods for actually making that money back, and this is one of such part two. And in this particular video we actually have a part three also, because I decided to go ahead and go past the 1 hour mark and see how much more money I could make beyond 1 hour. Anyways, as far as this part 2 video, I went ahead and got my gear ready to head over to the Ganodermic Beasts. I chose, and perhaps this was a mistake, but I chose to buy Mystic Armor, as well as a Glory, some prayer pots, the wolpertinger familiar for use as the magic boosting, because it gives, well, basically for every 3%, or for every level above your maximum level, you do 3% more damage. So having +7 to all my skills means 21% higher damage, which is quite nice considering the fact that with the fire battlestaff I don't get any extra magic bonus damage, and clearly an arcane stream necklace was outside of the time limit on this particular challenge. Note, I did take the home teleport over to Yanni to get the RD Cloak, because the RD Cloak 4 gives you +6 to your magical attack as well as +6 to your prayer, and that was well worth my time to get, and definitely just an awesome cloak all around. But I didn't take the time to actually buy a games necklace and run over to the lighthouse to reclaim the Zamorak Unholy Book, which would have given me an additional 8 magical attack and 5 prayer. And if I had additionally taken the time to run over to the Citadel from the One Piercing Note quest, could have got +8 prayer in that as well. And in any realistic scenario, I'd definitely go ahead and do that, but under the constraints of this challenge, I didn't. So anyways, I grabbed my Mystic gear, Fire Battlestaff Glory, and a bunch of Fire Surge runes, basically as many as I could afford, and ran over to the Ganodermic Beast Cavern dungeon, called Polypore dungeon I suppose, so I guess it's a dungeon. And basically follow the same method that I did in my Ganodermic Beast guide. If you're not familiar with my Ganodermic Beast guide, it's on my channel in the guides section, and definitely check that out. Basically, this was using the welfare gear, which I would not recommend doing, but it did work out alright. The biggest problem is actually the Fire Surge spell, more so than, well, I had difficulty hitting because I had lower magical attack, but having, I think it was 71 magic attack with this particular gear setup wasn't that bad. So hitting wasn't as much of an issue, the accuracy wasn't so much of an issue as the fact that the spell I was using to do any amount of decent damage is just so not economical. Basically it costs somewhere in the ballpark of 900 gold per cast, and that's incorporating the rune savings of the Fire Battlestaff, which is just a lot for something that has a much lower maximum hit than the polypore staff. And the polypore staff does, well, it does more damage at like 1/7 of the cost or something like that. Basically a polypore spell costs about 150 gold as opposed to 900 gold, which is, well, that's 1/6. So I correct myself, that's 1/6 of the cost, and definitely is just way more awesome. And it gives you a prayer bonus, and it gives you a additional magic damage % bonus, and just would have been awesome. Only problem was that I couldn't actually afford that from the get-go, because it costs a little bit over $500,000, and honestly it should cost a lot more money. But the fact is that it doesn't cost a lot. It costs a little bit over $500,000, and I had a little bit under $500,000. So I figured that, you know, you can make $3 million an hour easy at Ganodermic Beasts using my the method in my guide, but that method assumes that you're using the polypore staff to have very economical, you know, kills. And with the fire surge, it just proved to be so difficult to actually pull a profit out. Now, I did pull a profit out for sure. I pulled about 200k every half hour, and that continues through part 3 of the video, but I'm not gonna talk too much about part 3. If you want to check out part 3, watch part 3. It's short. I only went for a half hour. I decided not to go for the full hour, but check out part 3 if you'd like to see where I went with this. But basically, the fire surge is just so not economical. The only place to really use it is if you can't use the polypore staff. And I'm actually tempted to think that maybe if I had gone with Armadillo runes, even though they cost twice as much per spell, or per cast, than fire surge, but they do a lot more damage. And I don't know. Armadillo runes may have been a better way to go here. I'm gonna think that they warranted that I did do the best thing I could. Perhaps I would have been better off going with something like the Slayer staff spell. What's it called? Slayer Dart, I think it's called. Maybe that would have been better, but I just couldn't see myself doing that because that's such a low level spell that it just would take forever. And as it was, Fire Surge took forever to get kills. And in a realistic scenario, I would have definitely, you know, done something, anything else for a money-making method just to buy a polypore staff and then go straight in with the polypore staff. As opposed to this method, my intention was to, you know, get a bunch of loot and then use that loot to buy a polypore staff and then go back and make a whole bunch more loot and essentially start making 3 million an hour just like my guide dictates. But it just was so slow that it wasn't attainable in the 37 extra minutes I had for this video. And so yeah, that's that. Anyways, I hope everybody enjoys the video. If you have additional comments on what you'd like to see me do these mini guides on, please leave a suggestion. I definitely appreciate it. So far, someone suggested I do the King Black Dragon, and I'm thinking I am going to do that. Now, I don't think I'm actually going to